When you think back to being an athlete, whether it's going from corner to safety, or it's, your second year of college and your coach changes, or, hey, I'm in a new locker room this week. How much of you having to do that for a career, in a sense, before you started doing this, prepared you for this? Is it correlated at all?
You are really, really good, man. It is everything from the stuff with Campus Lore to Fox Sports to ESTV. That is everything. I cannot stress that enough. If to any former athlete, the most valuable skill you have is you've been in a locker room with 119. If you play college football, you got 120 something guys on the team. You've been in a locker room with 119 guys, all from different places, and you found a way to work with all of them. That is an invaluable skill that very, very few people have. To have a meeting with in an esports gaming team from LA or New York or South Korea or Texas, to be able to immediately relate and work with someone who is from a different part of the world, who has a different background, a different culture from you, is an invaluable skill. And I'm thankful that the NFL and college football has brought me that. So it is incredible that you pointed that out, because when people ask what is the biggest lesson you take from football to the quote unquote real world, that is the single biggest thing. Being able to work with people who you are meeting. I met you today, and we have a game on Saturday, so we better figure this out, right? That is an invaluable skill. That is the any success I've had in any of these things, in some aspect, boils down to that.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine. But, conversely, one thing I'd imagine you'd be really used to as an athlete is your schedule. It's like, okay, guys, wake up at this time because it's this meeting, this meeting, this meeting, this meeting. How did you deal with not having that structure? And did you kind of fill it up by taking on all these challenges so you had that jam-packed schedule again?
I think so. That is very psycho subconscious analysis of you, but I really do think so. And I'm kind of just now realizing it, because going back to that, year of nothing, which ended up being 100-ish days of nothing. I would wake up in the morning. Obviously, it's impossible to sleep in, because for the last 7 years at that point, had been waking up at 5:30 in the morning every day. Sleeping, I'm just laying there staring at the ceiling thinking, what am I going to do today? I can't call up my friends because they have jobs and it's Tuesday. There's nothing to do. I could watch movies. I watched every movie, every show, and eventually it's just boredom. Not necessarily like existential panic, because I don't want to do anything, but there is that feeling of I have nothing to do and I don't know what I want to do. So I think looking back, I hated feeling like that. And now whenever a new thing comes up, it is a yes before I even consider if it's something I should be doing. And I again,
Hence you're on this podcast.
Exactly. Happy to be here though, and happy to meet you. But it is this feeling of, okay, you go back to college, right? College football, you have a set schedule. I mean, there's certain majors that guys want to major in that guys want to study that they can't, because football practice schedule won't allow. I can't be a chemistry major because of this. I'll be a biology major instead. I want to get my MBA. I want to be finance major. Oh, the schedule doesn't allow. Maybe I'll have to do this instead, right? So that dictates your schedule. Obviously, the NFL dictates your schedule and the things that you can do. So I think finally having that freedom of I can say yes to everything and I can try everything. And, hey, yeah, I can hop on a flight and go to Texas and talk to this guy. I don't even know if I want to do this, but for the first time in my life, I can be spontaneous. So I think the spontaneity for the first time, it's such a weird feeling that I haven't gotten used to yet, but I genuinely think that's why it's fun to be busy, because it feels more comfortable as of now.
Got it. It makes a lot of sense. But you did mention earlier that Shane, obviously being your big brother, had the chance to walk this path before you did, and sort of allowed you to sort of peek in, see what it was all about, maybe avoid some pitfalls, or learn from it in any way. So if you kind of had a mentor in him and then the friends you made through him, were there any coaches, anyone else in particular that you
Man,
felt you could really credit toward helping you just develop as a professional?
without question. Wow. Jay Sawvell was my second DB coach at the University of Minnesota. A coach, Ronnie Lee, who was incredible, brought me in. Then my sophomore through senior year were with Jay Sawvell, who came in. And the textbook, when you watch a Disney Channel movie or a Nickelodeon movie, you know you have that mean coach who's screaming, but the innocent child learns that it's actually that he loves him, and you grow out of that. That is who he is. If you were just a bystander watching practice, you think, does this guy even like these kids? Like, does he like football? But you look back and you realize, like, no, if he didn't care, he wouldn't say anything when you messed up, right? There were people who mess up and you don't say anything because you're not going to play anyway. Why would I waste my energy, right? He was quintessential in realizing that the world doesn't uh, 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 they don't care about the work you put in. They're only going to see the result, right? You give up a touchdown, those fans are going to boo. They're not going to say, wait, guys, don't boo, because he's actually working really, really hard. And he's in the weight room early and his wife's like, no, they don't care about that. Did you make the play or did you not? And he was so black and white about everything. And he made you see the big picture. So Jay Sawvell was huge. And instrumental. Brian Anderson, who was actually the running back coach, but he was the liaison between the college players and the NFL. So if an NFL scout came in, he was the guy. So him helping me through that process. Of course, I had my brother, but me and Brian having our weekly-ish meetings about what scouts came in and stuff like that. And we still talk to this day. He's a running back coach now at Kansas State, and I hop in and talk over Zoom. Don't tell anybody at the University of Minnesota that, but it was a cool opportunity. Very close with him. But the biggest influence for sure was my high school coach, Larry Meir at Valencia High School. I don't know what records there are for a high school coach to set, but he has to be on pace to break them. Incredible is him and his wife, who coaches women's basketball at UCLA, have been instrumental. They are family. They are family. I don't make it to college without him. I'm not an NFL draft pick without him. I'm not having any success without him and his wife's influence. And to this day, can call him up at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday and he would answer. And has been an incredible influence on my life.
Yeah, it's really amazing how much really when you're younger to have that early coach, that early influence to really maybe instill belief in you and give you direction before you had any clue. And then just in general too, I feel like maybe it's those the positional coaches, that are more like the frontline manager that really help you get your act together. So while I 100% appreciate the credit to those coaches, when you look at then maybe the CEOs of the organization, so when you now think of the little bit of time that you had with Coach Belichick and Coach Reed, but even Coach, I mean, you can go down the line, Zimmer, John Fox, Mark Trestman. You had a little taste of a couple different ones. Is
Yeah.
certain things that you take from any of them as to like how to overall sort of instill the culture or find success in any way?
Yeah. It is fascinating you say that, because all those coaches have different styles,
I'd
tremendous
imagine
styles.
very.
Trestman, yeah, very different styles. Yeah. Trestman was a very subversive isn't the word. He was very, let this situation play out, and then I will address it calmly afterward. But I'm going to let it play out and let you make this mistake, and let it play out, right? Whereas a Sean Fox was, hey, I see what you're about to do. Don't do it. It's like, oh, okay. That's another way of teaching more so. And John Fox was a very, if you put him in pads, you would think that he's a player, and his relation to how he interacted with his guys, right? Trestman was kind of in the shadows, seeing the big picture of things. John Fox was in the mix of it, making jokes with guys, doing this. Belichick, obviously, such a unique guy. What I learned from him was that, similar to the stories of Greg Popovich, why people respect him is because he was hardest on Tim Duncan. Belichick was the hardest on the foundations of the team, on Devin McCourty, on Brady, on Edelman, right? Like he was so hard on them. And as whether you're a rookie, whether you're a 15-year vet who's, a free agent who signs with them, you automatically acknowledge, wow, if he's coming after the guys making plays every single Sunday like this, how can I complain about anything? I need to be up to that level too, because in the pursuit of perfection, you realize there's no perfection, because Tom Brady's getting yelled at right now, right? The best quarterback of all time is getting yelled at. There is no perfection, but you pursue it anyway. That is the biggest thing that Belichick teaches guys. But yeah, I've had a tremendously diverse range of coaches from college and the NFL. And yeah, the biggest thing is that there's no one way to lead. There's no one way to lead. It's assessing the guys in the room. What is the best way to lead this group to success? That's what I need to do as the CEO or as the head coach.
That's awesome. But who would you say at the end of the day, whose style resonated most with your own, personal?
Oh, wow, that's great. That is great. I would have to say, that is really, really good. I would have to say Belichick, because your style as the CEO, the head coach, your assistant coaches naturally take some of that, right? They're not trying to mimic you, but you're the one calling the shots. You're yelling at me. That's naturally going to influence how I coach the players in my position room, right? And I think of the entire defensive staff, Matt Patricia, who, even there being in New England for such a brief moment as I was, it tremendously influenced my life. Had some incredible conversations with him, and just a fantastic guy. And so I think the reason I say Belichick is because I think of the assistants. His son Steve Belichick, tremendous influence on my life. Had some incredible heart-to-hearts with him as well. So because that assistant staff was able to take so much from him, in turn, it would have to be Belichick for sure.